Is Ryzen 3 the new 1080p budget gaming CPU king? Keep watching to find out. What's up guys, Andrew here on my channel Geared Inc, where I get to share what I'm passionate about with you. And on my channel that's PC tech, games, and gear. So after doing a bunch of benchmarks, finally have my Ryzen 3 review ready for you, and we're going to go through those marks together. I have it stock and overclock side by side so you can see the comparison yourself. And then I'm going to go over a couple of the points as far as productivity of the CPU and kind of my thoughts overall. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, well there you have it. Ryzen 3 is the way to go if you're going to be doing a 1080p budget build, at least in my opinion. Pretty impressive across the board. Something to note is that if you are going to be doing a Ryzen build, RAM speed does affect it quite heavily due to how the architecture communicates with each other, and so you're going to want to get the fastest RAM you can when you are doing your overclocks. Now, something you also want to note is games like GTA 5 and PUBG, which I did have to play on medium, obviously to get playable FPS as it's not optimized, are going to be affected the most by the overclock as they are directly tied into CPU performance, specifically ICP or individual clocks per second. So the faster the CPU is running, the more performance you're going to see in those specific titles. Games like DOTA 2 and Battlefield 1 were not as heavily affected, but across the board, just a great performance difference if you are going to be overclocking the CPU, which I highly recommend that you do. Now, this was also done in the stealth cooler, and just so you guys know, temperature-wise, I was getting into the 70s under load, and so I originally had the chip overclocked to 3.8 gigahertz, but it was simply overheating on the stealth wraith, and I wasn't able to keep it stable. Now let's talk about productivity for a second. I wouldn't recommend the CPU if you're going to be doing a lot of video editing and things like that, only because it's 4 threads. In running Cinebench, I was able to almost double my numbers after doing the overclock, but it was pretty abysmal in terms of the overall time and score that I was getting. So understand that you can do those things on the CPU, but it's definitely not going to be fast, and it's one of those things where I'd recommend getting more cores, more threads if you are going to be doing more heavily into any kind of productivity or editing system. Alright guys, so there you have it. That was my review of the Ryzen 3 CPU, and I was honestly impressed with the results. One of the things to note is, I'm sure you saw, is that overclocking does make a big difference, and so just make sure that if you are getting the CPU, take advantage of that. With the AM3 Stealth Cooler, obviously I was only able to get up to 3.7 gigahertz without heat or thermal issues, basically shutting down the whole system. But your miles may vary. I'm actually going to be having an overclocking video coming out on that, where you get to see me muddle through it and make mistakes, and that's the best way to learn. Now, outside of that, I'm also going to be coming out with a Ryzen 3 streaming video just to show you kind of where the capabilities are there. And one of the things just to note is that this is a great gaming CPU. Obviously, if you're starting a game in 1080p, it's, I think, the best option out there. However, if you're going to be using for productivity, you're not going to find nearly as much of that use if you're doing like video editing or anything like that, because it is only 4 threads. So I hope you guys loved this video. If you did, leave me a thumbs up. If you didn't, leave me a thumbs down. Get subscribed, guys. I love seeing that I'm getting more subscribers every month. And like I say, always, you know, even if you don't subscribe, I'm going to keep making these videos anyway because I love it. Some days I'm up until 2, 3 a.m. because I just want to continue to create, and I hope you guys are enjoying the ride as much as I am, and we hope to see you next time here on Geared Inc.